So to extract data from the database, you need to use the structure query language SQL select statement. And also you may need to restrict your informations that you are getting from your database according to users. Like you cannot send the whole company reports to front desk lady. Only CEO could have such access. So this lesson will cover all the SQL statements that you need to perform while interacting with SQL Server, Oracle, C, C++, PHP, Objective-C, any programming language which you name. So now we know the need of SQL statement. Now we are good to write our basic SQL statements. So after completing this lesson, you should be able to do the following things. You can list the capabilities of SQL select statement. You can modify your SQL select statement according to your CEO or according to your front desk lady. And also you will be able to execute a basic SQL select statement. Now there are three basic concepts in SQL select statements, and these ones use all the time: selection, projection, and join. So our selection work in a row format. So like if the person has the ID of 55 and if we select that particular ID, then it means that we can select all of his rest of the information according to that ID. And in other words, selecting ID number 50 will be selecting our person of name Alex who have the DOB of 5/6/1990 and who has the address of Lahore, Pakistan. And if you select a person with the ID of 60, then it will be understood that that ID has name, some DOB, some address as well. Now the projection work in quite a different fashion. In projection, we select columns, not the rows. So we can think of projection as selecting all the names in our table or selecting all the addresses of our table. Now what if you have two tables and you want to see the combination of them? You can easily do that by using join. And this join will only work when you have two columns that have the same type of information, like two columns of ID into different tables, or you can combine or join one column of address with the other column of address in some other database. Now here is the basic select statement. Now you can see the keyword of select. Now here is the concept. This word of select, just select, is a keyword. Also this word of from, just from, is a keyword. But when we ask select column name, then it will be a clause. Also if we ask from table name, then it will also be another clause. And this whole block of yellow color is a SQL statement. So these select from are the keywords and the select column name are the clause, and this whole yellow box is a SQL statement. So when we use the keyword of select, we choose our column name of our table, and in the from clause we give our table name. So select identifies what columns to look into, and from identifies which table to look into. And whether you write simple SQL statement or the complex one, there will be at least two clauses. First clause will be select, then the second clause will be from. Now these are the at least criteria for SQL statement. Now in SQL, static can be used to select all the columns of any table. So if I write here select static, it means that select all the columns, and then from my table, then I have to pass the table name. So it means that select all the columns from my table of employee record, or from students, or from teachers. Now when we are writing our basic SQL statements, we should have to keep some things in mind. First of all, SQL statements are not case sensitive. You can write the select in uppercase or in lowercase, it's up to you. And also you can divide your SQL statements in 1, 2 or maybe many lines. It's also up to you. But you cannot divide your keyword. Like you cannot write SE of select at first line and LECT of select at the second line. And in case if you do that, then there will be an error and your query won't be going to run. Now for writing good SQL statements, we usually divide our clauses on separate lines. Like on the last page, I showed you where I wrote select static at one line, then from table name at the second line. And we use tab and indents like quotation and single quote to make our SQL statements more readable. And also at the end of any SQL statement, we put semicolon. So here I have this blue table and this yellow query, and this select query use the static, and if you use select static, then it means that selecting all the columns from your table. And in the next line, I'm using from my table of department. So if I use select static, then it will going to take all the columns of my table of department. Now in case if you want to select the specific column, you can write your keyword of select, then you have to put your column name. Like I have put here 2 columns, department number and location. You can put 1 column, 2 column, 3 column and many column you want. So I wrote here select department number from the table of department and select location from the table of department. Now while outputting your results of SQL statements, the default justification is for date and the character data, and the right justification is for numeric data only, and the default display is in uppercase. Now these default justifications are quite certain when you work in SQL Server and Oracle. While working with programming languages, you can change these default justification by using your programming languages.